All right. So this year, new editions as the history of customs broker license exams gets thicker and thicker, if you will. This new editions of the customs broker compilations, the compilation volume 1 and compilation volume 2, which cover the published history of the customs broker license exam, dating back to the April 1997, are being published. So pretty much all this, much of the information that they have has been taken pretty much in a straightforward way from customs examiners, the way they tested. And this information is, a lot of the information that they have is really freely available on the customs broker license examination website. And I have a link over here. If you go to the customs broker exam link and you click on additional material, check customs broker license examination page, you will see those exam key and downloads. So what, and let's see, where are they? Okay, they're right here. So you can see that you can download all these files, right? And what those books have done is they've taken those files. In addition to putting them together, so you have like one source document to go to, they have been analyzed for change in law, they have been analyzed for citations, they have been analyzed for outdated material, they have been analyzed for references to other materials which are such as the textbook, for example. So let's see. So the textbook would be over here, right? This would be one source of reference. So if it has been covered in the textbook and you using the textbook with the volume 1 or volume 2, it is also kind of like integrated. So you have a frame of reference, or the exercise book, which is also available through this law customs website. And this exercise book, so if you see the question and a lot of those questions which customs examiners provide, they are not explained in a meaningful way. A lot of times they just being cited with the regulation. Sometimes the regulation is incorrect, as we shall get to in a bit. And this way, if you try to learn the topic and you download or go through the exercises based on from the past, what you get is you get results which may not make sense. And the reason they would not make sense would be because you look up the regulation, and either the regulation is not there or the HTS code is no longer there, so you cannot get the meaningful approach. So, and again, I reproduce the links to the exam key and downloads over here, which are not annotated. But the goal of the project undertaken in the compilations is the annotation portion. Right? So what is this annotation portion? This is something which I want to put in the context as to make it more meaningful. All right. So for one thing, we have the textbook uses the system of labels, and by annotation, what I mean is I'm talking about the labels. So those labels, let's see. Let me get those labels on the screen. All right, here they are. So those labels are kind of put side by side by each question, as we shall shortly see, and they kind of try to give a meaning such as, okay, this question has multiple answers, or watch out for this question because citation in the back is incorrect. Most challenging part, for example, at least from the intellectual perspective, would be the difficult logic label, where so customs examiners say A, right? And okay, maybe they are right, but other answers seem to be right. Other answers seem to correspond to regulation. So even though customer examiners claim A, there may be other answers that are more available. So it is really difficult to understand the thinking methodology. So it's kind of like alerts you that if you practicing to make sure that that when you see something and it doesn't make sense, it is one way to communicate that you are probably not alone. And some of you who watch, I run the appeal lectures. Some of you who watch the appeal lectures will see the reasoning for some of the questions and how I propose the analysis which leads to the answers which are not the answers claimed by customs examiners to be the only correct answer or the best answer, right? Because remember, the customs broker exam uses the best answer rule as a methodology for identifying the best multiple choice that fits from A to E. All right, so what I suggest is to look at some examples to kind of put things in the context. All right, so let's look at one of them. All right, so okay, so this came up. So this is a screenshot from the book. I think since it's October 12th, it would be this book, the quite recent exam. And what it gave you, it's a practical exercise portion where examiners give you the screenshot of CBP form 7501, and they ask you questions based on the information in that form. So in this case, what we're dealing with is we're dealing, for example, with question 3. And the question 3 says what is the correct value for the block 39 other, right? And the way you see the annotation portion is you see it says assigned in textbook. And when you see it assigned in textbook, it means that you can go to the appropriate section of the textbook. So since we're dealing with CBP form 7501, it will be part of the CBP form 7501 and or and fees section. So here you can see that this very same question, if you go to the textbook, so the textbook would be one of those green materials, and you can see that the chapter 29 of the textbook dealing with fees uses this question to talk through the material in a form of web supplement and in the form of the written material in the textbook. Also, another thing that is helpful is to understand that when you see the label assigned in textbook, you have to understand that whenever the way that the textbook material is written is it is designed to to focus on topics. However, some topics just overlap, and for the easier of reference, those topics this question can pop up, such as this question in various chapters. So in this question, at least in this question, this question is assigned to as a part of chapter 22, and the chapter 22 deals with entry. Let's see. Okay, so volume 1, chapter 22 is entry summary general overview. So that question, that CBP form 7501 question, is would be part of the entry summary general overview, because simply it is part of the chapter, right? The correct answer here would be this one, the 4811. But in addition to that, also notice that all they do here is they cover, they really test you on a kind of like entry portion, but at the same time they would like to know straightforward memory part, not understanding part, but memory part, which is which form. And it may be helpful to kind of like understand the context, but you can't get very far without memorization, or at least, as I call it, when you bring those code of federal regulations and other text to the exam, or as you prepare, you really learning to become a librarian. So it's kind of like a frame of reference for you. So because a lot of questions historically deal with the straightforward question forms. What is a form? What is a form? There is a whole, the textbook has a whole chapter dedicated to covering only forms, and it is found in volume 2 of the 4th edition, which is called commonly tested forms. And those commonly tested forms, they also take they kind of like extrapolate, they take out all the previous questions on forms by the CBP examiners, and they kind of like put them together. So, and the reason this chapter is there is for example, if you sit at the customs broker exam, time is of essence, you're under a lot of pressure, it is easier for you just to open up to this chapter and reference the form, because they're structured by the form number, rather than to think, okay, this is entry, so because it's entry, I must think that it deals with this and this section of the regulation, somewhere in 141, 1 through 143, Code of Title 19, Code of Federal Regulations. So let me look in there and see if I can find it. By the time you flip through this, you may have lost so much time that you will be you'll be short on time as you move on to tackle other questions, to which you will hopefully get. So the idea is to break it down and make it simpler. So whenever this compilations says assigned textbook, it may refer not only to one chapter, but it may refer to the question assigned in various parts, in different chapters of the textbook. Okay, so that's the textbook label. Let's take a look at the next label and how it is being used. So the next label is a repeated question label, such as the one over here. So question 25. An FTZ operator shall prepare a reconciliation report within blank days at the end of the zone, subzone, unless the port director authorizes extension for reasonable cost. So again, it tests you on knowledge of how many days. It is also one of those memorization questions. And what you need to do is you need to, this label, is repeated question label, is designed to alert you as you prepare for the exam. Look, this question showed up more than once. It has been repeatedly tested. So probably it is a good idea to pay attention to this one more than to other questions, because for one reason or another, customs examiners give more emphasis to this topic, right? So in an example of question number 25, we seen this question tested in April 2015, question 11. We've seen this question tested in April 2010, question 50. We've seen this tested in April 2009, question 71. This very question. So, and I'm talking only about going back to October 2006. I'm talking about how it showed up 4 times. For the purposes of this lecture, I did not even look at this one because I said, look, it's a repeated question. Just going back to 2006, October 2006, it showed up very frequently. It showed up 4 times. Actually 5 times. So October, because this is 5 times including this very question. So I think it's important enough. So the goal of this label is to alert you, pay higher attention to this type of question than to other questions, because there is a possibility of it recurring on your exam also. All right, so that's a repeated question label. Let's go to the other label, the one that I mentioned, which is more of a challenging label, the label dealing with difficult logic. All right, so difficult logic, and as you shall see in a bit, I'll explain why by way of example. So take a look at this question. The question came up in October 2015 examination, and we're talking about question 46, right? So if you see this label, you may have a difficulty arriving to a correct answer versus other answers, right? And if you see this label, that's simply kind of like an alert or the message that you're not alone. There may be problems with this one. For whatever reasons, customs examiner decided to point out one better answer, but there may be other better answers. So this was a question that I have done a lecture, which I included in a lecture on appeal for October 2015 examination. And when I run lectures, I provide proposed material, and the proposed material went as follows. So if you recognize that question 46, the difficult logic question, customs examiner stated B. So the call of the question is substantial transformation, right? So which FTA, free trade agreements examines whether the goods have been substantially transformed to qualify for preferential treatment, right? And customs examiner said B is the right answer. And the argument that I proposed, the argument that I suggested, is that all other agreements also have substantial transformation concept, no less than answer choice B. And here is the reason why. So what I've done is I went to the regulatory text. So first I started out to provide what the concept of the substantial transformation means. So this would be the analytical starting point if you would like to reason your way through. Then on the next page, I dive into the actual law, actual legal text, in this case it would be harmonized error schedule. And I try to demonstrate that the Korea provides for concept of substantial transformation, and I make a citations. So here it would be the general node 33.0. The Singapore provides for substantial transformation under general node 25.0. The DR CAFTA, the Dominican Republic Central American Free Trade Agreement, also has a tariff shift substantial transformation concept, which is codified in the general node 29b. Then we go to Chile, Panama, and Peru, pretty much doing the same thing, where I cite that each of those agreements mentioned by CBP examiners, they deal with the concept of substantial transformation. And they all deal with it not implicitly, they deal with it explicitly at the statutory level, right? So for customs examiners to say B is correct is logically difficult for me to comprehend because under the statute, other answer choices seem to be just as good. So going back to the compilations example, right? When you see all those choices, and if you take time and you go through this analysis, you can get answer A, B, C, D, and E in an equal kind of way. So for you, if you apply the logic, the logic of customs examiners may be difficult for you to comprehend, and this is why this label is out there to kind of like put an alert that watch out. The reasoning, the methodology, the analysis as you work through the answer choices may not be straightforward or point blank one answer choice. There may be other just as equally relevant or even better. So this is a difficult logic label that is being used through this through those compilations which assign those labels. All right. The next one is the multiple answer. So for many of you, it may not be the secret that sometimes customs examiners provide answers which are applicable to the situation more than once. And as you prepare for the customs broker exam, it may be helpful for you to see up front, because if you're looking at the exam here, right? You're looking at the exam here, you kind of like, without looking at this label, you may in good faith look at the snippet. Here is the CBP form 7501 entry summary snippet, and try to go through analysis without being alert that there may be some problems with it. Usually, under the best answer rule, if customs examiners give you more than one answer, the rule is single best answer, right? So whenever customs examiners, such as in this question, so we're dealing with question number 6, and if you look at the answer key, question number 6 for the April 2015 says credit given to all examinees. It kind of like gives you sign. The credit given means more if you picked A, all right. If you pick B, all right. If you pick T, you also get credit. That's what I meant by that's what the multiple answer choice label means, and it is a label to indicate that there is some problem with the way the question was formed. So if you would, I mean, it's really depends on the time. It really depends on the effort one is willing to put in. The multiple answer choice label may also be the invitation for examinee who prepares to sit on the exam to kind of like figure out what's wrong with this, right? And it may be also interesting and more challenging, instead of just trying to pick one choice, kind of like to see, okay, why did customs examiners decided that to give credit for all of them? Are they all right, or are they all incorrect, or what happened, right? And so if you decide to respond invitation in this instance, you will see that the question, the call of the question is the date used for calculating the applicable rate of duty, right? And if you look at, so when you see the date, there is a chapter in the textbook called entry date, entry time, and also there is a chapter submission of duties that deal with it. But basically what you're looking for is you're looking for 141.68, which says that the applicable rates of duty, generally speaking, are those rates which which were applicable at the time of entry, subject to exceptions. And one of those exceptions would be the IT date. So in this case, in this scenario, customs examiners said that, all right, so the date of import is January 3rd, 2014. The IT date preceding the import date is January 2nd, 2014. Then the entry date, so IT date means entry for immediate transportation without appraisement. So what happened is the shipping came in one port and then went to the different port. And it was cleared, it went through the customs clearance. Here we have type 1 for consumption at the different port than at the other port than the port of import. And so it took some time, right? And so you have entry date, which is January 4th, and then you have summary date, which is January 17th. And you kind of know that there is a 10-day rule, which is fine, but there is a problem with this. So if you notice, the import date and the IT date, they're a little weird, because usually you need to bring something in, and the definition of import date is the time when, so we have what, transportation number 11, which is vessel, right? Mode type 11, which is a vessel, so it's probably like a containerized cargo. It needs to be arrived to the port and then put on immediate transportation entry, get to the port of clearance and get clearance, right? Here it seems like the IT date preceding the import date, it seems like it went on immediate transportation before it even arrived to the port. The reasoning behind that can be understood, because generally there is a pre-clearance procedure. So even before the cargo arrives to the port, such as it depends on the port, but usually it's like 5 days out rule, right? So 5 days before the vessel is scheduled to arrive, you can send the information to customs electronically through ACE, ABI, and this information will be received, but maybe processed somehow differently, right? Here, what I think happened is someone, and I do not know where or how, they went into the and looked at the CBP form 7501. And CBP form 7501 instructions, which is required. Lately, it has been required for required document. This CBP form 75 instructions has been required for exam. So what they have done is they went to the import date which is import date right here. And they looked at the definition. So the merchandise arriving by US vessel record the month, day, and the year on which importing vessel transporting the merchandise arrived within the limits of the US port with intent to unload. Okay. So then they went and decided to check out the IT. So IT is under the block 17 or the box 17. And in the box 17, notice it says IT date cannot be prior to import date. So if IT date cannot be prior to import date, you look at the exam question over here that we're discussing, and we have IT date prior to import date, which is prohibited by the very document that customs examiner is supposed to examine. So, oops, I think this is what happened, and this is what caused the multiple answer question, the credit to be given to everyone for choice number 6. And this is what caused this label to appear, to kind of like I'll give you an alert that, look, single best answer rule over here, at least in the context of this question in this fact pattern, is not applicable. All right. So that's a multiple answer question label. The next label is the outdated label. Let's take a look. All right, so question 67 says is dealing with the alternative storage of records. And alternative storage of records is in the record keeping part of the Code of Federal Regulations. And customs examiners say, if you look at the answer sheet, they say choice C is the correct answer. See? So customs examiners say choice C, and they give you the provision 163.5, right? So as you study for the exam and you see that the answer choice C, and notice this is quite recent. So I think, so this is April 2015. So this is for 2015, right? So customs examiners tested by asking requests for alternative methods of storage required to be maintained and must be made from which of the following, right? So they said that it should be Miami office, right? Miami, Florida, regulatory audit. All right. So, but let's take a look at the question. Let's take a look at the regulation. So imagine yourself sitting and preparing and looking at the 163.5. Let's see what you will find. 163.5. So let's go back to our text, to our regulations. So you will have a book. I'll just pull it out offline. I'll be using an official version because that will do for now. So customs duties, part 163.5. So this is 163, record keeping, and point 5, methods of storage of records. All right. So what you will see is, yes, there is a regulatory audit appearing, right? But it's appearing for Charlotte, North Carolina office, not the Miami office. In fact, I'll use like a quick tool. So I'll put Miami. See, I put Miami in the search of the whole section 163.5, which customs examiners say is the relevant section of the Code 19, Title 19, and Miami is nowhere to be found. So So if, as you prepare, this will not be very good. It may be destructive at the very least, and it may be counterintuitive or may get you in trouble if you sit on the exam. So why? What happened? So regulations are made subject to the Administrative Procedures Act. Administrative Procedures Act is the way for the government, usually for the administrative branches of the government, which is Customs and Border Protection is they make a comment on notice period, and they provide you, if they would like to change, let's say if it was in Miami, right, it was say Miami before, they need to make a notice to the public in the form of publication in the Federal Register. A public will comment, the communication will be exchanged back and forth, and it will be published in the Federal Register, such as trade community comments, responses by Customs and Border Protection, and the relevant rulemaking, not rulemaking, but the administrative record, the history of change of administrative record is found all the way in the end. So if you can see, we have publication Treasury Decision TD 9856 all the way back in 1998. It was amended in by CBP Decision 1212, which is published in Customs Bulletin in June 2012. Probably somewhere around 2012, Miami went away, and Charlotte, North Carolina came into being. Notice the date of the exam, April 2015. So this is not good, right? Because at the time of the written exam, Charlotte, not Miami, was in the regulations. So, and probably for some time. If you go back to because this I think this question come quite a bit. So if you look at the earlier questions, right, you will see Miami showing up as the correct answer choice, but it's changed. It's North Carolina now, Charlotte. So the goal of this label, of the outdated label, is to alert the one who prepares for the exam that this probably may no longer be relevant or a good law, a good regulation to look at. So you may just skip it, or you may kind of like make a check, so to learn to recognize that, hey, look, that law which customs examiner cite in the answer key is no longer applicable. So that's the purpose of the outdated label. All right. So next on the list is a label which says incorrect citation. Let's take a look at and try to put it in the context of questions that showed up. All right. So here we have a question from October 2014, and we have a question number 9. So question number 9 says, which of the following is not required information necessary to file a protest? And they give you this whole list, right? And they're looking for the answer which is not. And customs examiners say that the correct answer is C. C is not required. Not required. You don't need to submit a bill of lading number, although in my practice I submit supporting documentation entry summaries when I file a protest. So bill of lading number is usually listed on the entry summary, and bill of lading, recall, it's part of the entry packet. It is evidence of right to make an entry. So it is part of the entry packet. So in any case, it will, if when you prepare a protest packet, it's probably a good idea to submit it. At least I do this just to afford examining party in CBP to have a better view and have everything in the tip of his fingers. But we are in a customs broker exam. We are in this academic world, right? And so we have to go by strictly by what the regulation says. So what would be the regulation dealing with the protest? Notice, this is the call of the question is on the focus of the question is on the protest. So protest is addressed in part 174 of Title 19 of Code of Federal Regulations. Section 174.13, right there, contents of protest, is probably something that we want to look at. And as we'll see, they give you pretty much the check sheet of what to include, what not necessarily to include, but what must be in a protest and in what form, like multiple entries if you file it, or other things. So you will see the entry number, date of liquidation, description of merchandise, all that must be included. You will not see that let me open that again. You will not see that the shipping party and the bill of lading number is on that laundry list of listed items. So what section we looked at to the right to answer C? It's 174.13, right? Let's see. So 174.13. All right, so let's go back to the question. And this question is number 9. Question number 9 of October 2014. All right, so let's go and take a look at answer key. So this is October 2014 answer key, and you look at the question number 9. Customs examiners provide you section 152.1 and 159.32. If you look at those sections, they have nothing to do with the protest. What I think happened over here is when customs examiners provided the answer key, they accidentally copied and pasted the answer choice 8, the citations from 8 over here, because it is identical. But irrespective of whatever customs examiners have done or thought they have done, it's not helping you very much, because you are looking and trying to read between the lines, through the lines, on top of the lines, of where you can find matters related to the contents, to the protest in section 151.1. See, even it says C and 159.32. 159.32, I'm sorry. And you will not find it there. Let's take a look. So 139.32. It deals with the date of exportation. See, it's like one line. Okay, it directs you to 151.1C. (152.1C). So it's a different part. So you go to 152.1C. Definitions for the appraisement of merchandise, date of exportation. You look very hard, you will find nothing related to the protest. Maybe later on it may become relevant for whatever reasons, but at least this is a straightforward question. The question dealing with the protest and with the information that needs to be submitted as a part of the protest. And looking at the incorrect regulation is not helpful. And if you're just learning how to go about this label, the incorrect citation label, may kind of like put you on alert that, look, even if you're looking at the answer key and you're not finding any, and you're finding that the answer, the cited regulation does not make any sense, it's because it probably doesn't make any sense, because the citation should have been 174.13 instead of that 159.13 or whatever. So this is a goal as you practice as you go through the exam questions. This is a goal. This is a goal of this label to help you recognize that there may be problems with the source of authority. So, hence the point of this incorrect citation label in the compilations, as a form of annotation device. All right. So the next question is the next label, I'm sorry, is pretty much straightforward. It deals with the exercise book. In this situation, so if you decided to take advantage of exercise book, which is a compilation, which is questions that are being dealt with over here. So this is exercise book. An exercise book pretty much takes the questions and they try to give the rationale behind it, either in a written form or the video form, in the form of separate web supplement, where you can see the discussion, or it is a combination of both. So, if for example this question deals with the transaction value, so this is valuation of merchandise. Some may argue that this valuation of merchandise is the most difficult section of the most difficult part of the exam. Many say classification is more difficult, but I think it's really not about difficulty. I think this is about time consumption, because classification may consume a lot of time, but this definitely, the valuation, a lot of questions on valuation, they really consume quite a bit of time, because you have to go through calculations, and for those of us who are not very good in math, this is additional grief we have to go through on top of other pressures that we go through as we prepare for the customs broker license examination. So this is simply to alert you that, look, this one is part of the exercise book, right? So okay, so let's say you have exercise book, and you have that label, and you know this is April 2014, question number 52, and you kind of like want to get the more detailed rationale as opposed to just blurb of the regulation. And what I mean by blurb of regulation, if you look at the answer key for this particular question 52, you will see that customs examiners, here the question 52, they merely state 19 CFR 152. All right. 19 CFR 152 is quite long and quite complex. So we're looking at the whole 19 CFR 152, which is all this stuff. Look at this. Look at how many. This is online, but I'm scrolling pretty fast through it. But they cover some of the complex topics. So general statement 19 CFR 152 may not be very helpful as you prepare for the exam and you come across questions such as question 52 on April 2014 examination. So this label is designed to alert you that look, if you have an exercise book handy, then you can refer to this, which will kind of like deconstruct the reasoning behind this valuation question and will get you to the right answer. So by way of example, let's see how you do this. So you would so this is table of questions in exercise book, and you open up the exercise book to the table of questions and you spot the question. So in our case, this is April 2014, question 52. So we'll see, okay, April 2014, question 52 is discussed in answer 457, right? 457. All right. So then you simply flip to the page 457, to the page 687 of the book, 687 of the book. And in case of 687, let's see. So this is a snippet of the page 687 of the book, and we're dealing with question 4. Notice we're dealing with question 457, right? So again, it's a restatement of the question, and it alerts you that, look, if you want to get the answer for this, you better go to the link and open up the discussion. So here we have the passcode. So it will be CWAK2538, and this is how you get to the video discussion. If you have a smart device, you just scan it or go to the short link, the same way as used in the textbook. And here's what we get. So let's go to that exercise book, question 457, right here. All right, so what you need to do is you need to enter the password. In our case, it would be capital C, capital W, AK. Remember, those are case sensitive. 2538. You enter it in, and alas, you're in. So what you have is you have a discussion, almost like a 12-minute discussion of the very question, trying to deconstruct the methodology and the rationale of arriving to the right answer to the question number 52. So that's the idea. Let's see. So we'll go back to our question. So basically, what this label is designed to do, it is designed to integrate, to alert the one who prepares that there are materials out there which help out, which also address this situation. So if you do not understand and you have that other material, such as textbook, it is also being part of the textbook, as you can see by the label here. You can go to those sources and find more meaningful explanatory text or explanatory statements, which will hopefully clarify the picture instead of looking at the vague answer such as 19 CFR 152, which is provided on the answer key. So this is the reason behind labels such as discussed in exercise book or discussed in the textbook. So okay. So next one is kind of like the same way as we discussed. Remember we talked about the outdated label. Well, the outdated label can also deal with a different matter. So let's take a look at the next example. So in this example, so this is October 2006, and this is a question dealing with classification of live chickens. And if you notice, in classification, customs examiners give you the HTS numbers, and the correct answer in this case it will be question 29 for October 2006. So it will be annotated in this book, and looking at the if you look at the answer choice for the question 29, again without going through analysis, we see that D, answer choice D, is correct. So suppose you downloaded this without any annotations. The problem is that answer choice D, if you're practicing for the current exam, is nowhere to be found, because harmonized tariff schedule HTS numbers, they change frequently. In fact, they change on annual basis, sometimes semi-annual basis. Usually with presidential proclamation around around July of each year, but also throughout the year too. So you have answer choice D, which is 01, 05, 93, 00. So suppose you have that exam book which is current, right? I'll use the HTS US, which is online. So let me go back to the quick link. Let's see, we have HTS online reference tool. So let's try to put this number in. No, thank you. So it will be 01, 05, 99, no, it's 93, right? 93, 00. Oh, no rates found. Look, no rates found. What about 93? Can we find something for 93? No. What about just taking a look at the heading, right? Can we see 93? And as we scroll through, we see that chickens, so here it will be 93, they have been substituted by 94, right? So 93, you can kind of like make sense that 93 should be 94. But as a matter of practice, as a matter of meaningful practice, what I propose is there are so many classification questions show up on every exam. They are heavily tested material. There is plenty for you to practice by looking at the ones which are not outdated. So what this label does is it kind of like gives you an alert that, listen, this is an interesting question, but this probably should be avoided because one or more HTS numbers are outdated. But even so, this label, you will see this label appearing even if customer examiners, let's say, didn't pick D. Let's say they switched the fact pattern and they picked out C. You still have to analyze to get to the right answer for the classification portion. Remember, you have to go through the general rules of interpretation. And general rules of interpretation say that if you have something appearing in more than one heading, such as over here, customs designers propose, then you can something classifiable, not appearing, classifiable. Here you do not know, you have to look at the details. But you have 1, 2, 3 headings, right? So it is possible for you to apply general rule of interpretation 3. And in general rule of interpretation 3, you basically have to compare specific versus not so specific. Essential character versus not essential character. Last in numerical order versus first in numerical order, right? So like GRIC, general rule of interpretation C. So basically, if you have one of those which are outdated, it's difficult for you to compare and contrast. So that kind of like gives you I shouldn't say grief or anxiety, but it gives you inconvenience because that HTS number is nowhere to be found. Yes, you can make a kind of like correlation with the current HTS US, but the goal here is again to maximize the efficiency. I think that it's better in this situation to skip the question in the first place and move on to the other classification questions. There are plenty of them, than to spend your time doing one which is outdated. So the label, as in the Code of Federal Regulation, remember that record keeping example that we dealt with, which is no longer true, it is also applicable in the context of classification, and even if one of them was outdated, it's better not to touch it because you have plenty others which are not outdated to work and practice. All right, so that's another point on outdated. Let's see. Let's take a look at the next label, which says removed. So why would those annotations would have such a label such as removed? Let's talk about this one. All right. So here we have question number 53, NAFTA tariff shifting and processing. And this is question number 53. Question number 53 from, let's see where it came from. It came from April 2012. All right. And the answer choice for April 2012, question 53, is removed. All right. So what does that mean? So that means that as you go and practice them, probably it's better not to touch it. Probably it's better to leave it alone. Sometimes you see the SNS situation is also discussed in the exercise book, and the reason that this particular question, by way of example, appeared in the exercise book is because customs examiners asked in a later exam. They came with pretty much the same question, but they put more details into this. The reason this question is removed, I think, is because from the description, it doesn't describe whether the statement, the slab is further worked, cut, and polished to produce granite countertop in Canada, right? It may not be sufficient enough information to decide whether the slab is further worked or not. What you see is, you see in HTS you have chapter 25, which gives for the rough stones, rough rocks, which pretty much have been cut out from the mountain and or from the quarry, right? And put on a ship and imported into the United States. You have also chapter 68, which describes further work process. So it's no longer just a rough rock. It is a rock which went through the polishing. It is a work. It is a stone which has been dressed somehow. The dialogue is still out there where the boundary in this content is. what is further worked. For example, one of the recent cases, one of the recent inquiries which I had done in a private practice is to see, for example, there is a rock, it's kind of rough and has been flamed, and flaming is a process of placing a heated device such as the torch on a rock, so it provides a smoother surface. Is that further work, so it takes it out of chapter 25 to the chapter 68 or not? Well, it is important question. This is a question of significance because chapter 25 provides for much lower duties than chapter 68. So from the commercial standpoint, it may be something which may matter, right? So it's not only academic argument. But basically, if you see this label removed, probably it is a good idea not to think too much about this question such as that, and skip it and move on as you cover your practice. All right, so pretty much we covered what I wanted to cover for compilations, for exam history compilations. So it is a work in progress. So this one includes the latest up to the April 2016, but it also works all the way down in the volume 2, all the way down to the April 1997. The labels that were discussed are covered over here. So from difficult logic to outdated and removed and repeated question. And I kind of like provide snippets of why they are, but I also felt that it is important to talk this through because as you practice, as you, for example, download the raw examination, for example, April 2011, yes, you will see the questions, right? Those are freely available and those are all out there, but they may prove to be too time-consuming if the question is outdated, or they may not alert you as to the importance of the question or to why the answer should be the answer which custom designers say is the correct answer. So, this is the compilations which try to put things in a context through putting labels next to questions. Thanks.